Welcome back to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. In today's weather forecast, I'll be going over the late season snowfall continuing across the Midwest and the Great Lakes today, and then our next big storm system all this week with snow across the west, heavy rain and severe storms across the eastern two-thirds of the country, and then we'll look ahead to the long range weather pattern. How long does winter stick around in those cold temperatures and snowfall even through the end of April? We'll have those details later on in today's video. But looking here today, we got our big upper level system up here across the Great Lakes, bringing our deformation snow band across the western Great Lakes here this morning. Definitely an impressive satellite picture here of a late season snow event. And you can see that is going to be flying around with the snow across Wisconsin, northern parts of Illinois, getting into northern Indiana and Michigan here throughout the day on Monday, and blustery conditions as well with that snowfall. And you can see with the snowfall in place, we have winter weather advisories and even winter storm warnings in the pink shaded colors across much of Wisconsin, from Prairie du Chien over here toward Madison, Wisconsin, and all the way north into portions of Eau Claire, and then even blizzard warnings up here near Lake Superior, where we're expecting the combination of snow and blowing snow as well, with the blustery conditions across the upper Midwest. And you can see with the winds out of the northwest, they're going to be screaming sustained between 20 and 30 miles per hour here throughout the day today. And with those wind gusts from time to time, we could be seeing 40 to upwards of 50-mile-per-hour wind gusts across especially eastern Iowa, getting through north central Illinois, and even some 30, 35-mile-per-hour wind gusts up into Wisconsin today. And that is also the same over here into Indiana and southern parts of Michigan. So very windy as well with the cold temperatures and the snow. Definitely going to be adding the bite to the air out there. So definitely bundle up. But going through the day today, we're going to be seeing some snowfall on the backside of the system as it wraps in the colder air with those windy conditions. That will continue across Wisconsin, the UP of Michigan here, down through portions of lower Michigan, and then across northern Indiana and northwestern Ohio through the noon time frame. As you get off of work and school today and later on this afternoon and into this evening, we'll still be seeing those scattered snow showers across the Great Lakes regions here, these pesky snow showers through the evening hours. And then as we go into 6 a.m. on Tuesday, we'll start to wrap up a lot of the snow and become more lake effect type of snowfall across portions of the Great Lakes going into your Tuesday morning commute. So your additional snowfall accumulation from now all the way through Tuesday morning, we are seeing a few inches of snow possible here across Wisconsin. Now, I do think this is a little bit overdone, but I do think a couple inches more of additional snowfall accumulation will be possible, with the higher amounts up here toward Lake Superior, where we have those blizzard warnings. But even farther down here into southern, southwestern Wisconsin, would not be surprised to see a dusting up to around 2 inches of snow through your Tuesday morning commute. But this cold air will be amplified, so we're going to be seeing a lot more of these 30s and 40s through the day today across much more of the Great Lakes, whether or not you see the snowfall on the heels of the northwesterly winds. But back to the west, across the Great Plains, it's going to be a great day today. We have temperatures into the 70s and 80s out here, especially into those drought-stricken areas with the dry ground. It'll definitely heat up a lot faster. Temperatures will be surging into the middle 80s, places like Amarillo, back into the panhandle of Oklahoma and southwestern Kansas. And then as we go into tonight, I'm more concerned about widespread frost and freeze conditions across the upper Midwest through the Dakotas, Minnesota, Wisconsin, getting into Michigan here, Iowa, into northern Illinois. And this is the confidence I do have for the frost and freeze occurring as we go into tonight and Tuesday morning. Pretty likely here in anywhere in these blue shaded colors, and I'm actually expecting frost and freezes into these pink shaded colors here, especially into eastern Dakotas, much of central portions of Minnesota, the entire state of Wisconsin, getting into Michigan, northern Illinois, northern Indiana, and northwestern Ohio. Definitely want to cover the plants up or any vegetation that is growing that you want to keep out there, because there will be crop damage, and there definitely could be some damage to your plants out there going through that Tuesday morning time frame. But even as we go into Tuesday, we will be seeing the cooler temperatures start to, move a little farther north, but we're still going to be hanging on to the 40s and 50s up here across the northeastern United States. But there we go again. We got the southerly flow advecting more of those mid and even upper 80s here. Wouldn't even be surprised to scratch out a 90-degree high across the Texas Panhandle into the Panhandle, Oklahoma, or western Kansas going through that Tuesday afternoon time frame. But it's as we go through early this week, our next big storm system will be moving into the Pacific Northwest with our big trough out here as we get into this afternoon. That will start to move farther inland by the time we get into Tuesday afternoon and Tuesday evening. And what this will be doing is producing some precipitation across the northwestern United States. So as soon as noon time frame today, we're going to start to see our first bands of heavier rain and snow move into the west coast of the United States, into western Washington state, western Oregon, and northwestern California. This will move farther inland across central portions of Washington state and Oregon and northern California by this evening. And then as we go into 6 a.m. on Tuesday for your Tuesday morning commute, we'll have colder air aloft underneath that trough, and then we're going to see more of those upper elevation snow showers into western Montana through much of Idaho here, and then on and off snow showers in those higher elevations across much of Washington, getting down into Oregon and northern California. And some of that could even sneak into northwestern Nevada as well. That will continue through Tuesday evening and even probably into Wednesday morning as well before we start to slowly shut off the precipitation. So looking at the total rainfall accumulation across the West Coast now through Wednesday morning on the 19th, does look like some decent rains can be expected, especially near the coastline in western Washington state, western Oregon, northwest California, widespread 1 to as much as 2.5 inches of rain across these areas. But we're also looking at some heavy snow across the Pacific Northwest going through that Wednesday timeframe on the 19th as well. These snowfall amounts could be over 6 inches, if not up to a foot of snow in many of these areas in the upper elevations. But if you are traveling across these areas, definitely want to be mindful as you go up in elevation, you'll be running into some heavier snow showers and some roadways that will be covered in snow and be very slushy as well. So you have those minor to moderate travel inconveniences, especially into central Idaho, western parts of Montana, western Wyoming, and then especially those high elevations into Washington state, Oregon, and northern California. But as the system pushes farther east, by the middle of this week, on Wednesday, April 19th, it's going to be bringing more trouble across the Great Plains. We have a pretty stout mid-level jet moving across portions of the Central Plains by Wednesday evening, and a warm front that will be surging northward into the at least the lower Midwest and the Missouri Valley here on Wednesday. And we have a developing surface cyclone, a low pressure system back here across western Kansas. And what this means is as this warm front presses farther north, we're going to see those 70s, 80s push farther north as well, even some 90s down here into northwest Texas Wednesday afternoon. And we're going to have a very strong dry line develop across the Great Plains here. Look at that. We have mid 60 dew points in Dallas, Fort Worth, back up here into Oklahoma City and Wichita, but back here across the Amarillo area into the Panhandle of Oklahoma and western Kansas, dew points will be back into the teens and 20s by Wednesday afternoon. But this will be the focal point for lift, for CAPE, or convective available potential energy. Thunderstorm food here will be eaten up by this as we go through the afternoon and evening on Wednesday, with that dry line setting up all of that lifting mechanism for thunderstorms to grow strong. And the Storm Prediction Center for Wednesday already has a level 2 of 5, a slight risk for severe storms in the yellow shaded color from central Iowa, including the Des Moines area, back toward Omaha, getting into the Kansas City area, and then farther south and westbound into central Kansas, including the Topeka and Wichita, Kansas region. But it's right along that dry line. We still have that level 1 of 5, that marginal risk for severe storms into the Oklahoma City area, Tulsa, getting down into Wichita Falls, just west of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, and then all the way down toward the Rio Grande Valley as we go through Wednesday evening. And what's really concerning about this setup here and why it's very interesting to look at is the lapse rates are going to be extremely off the charts as we go into Wednesday evening. These are very high values, and what lapse rates are is as you go up in the atmosphere, it's the rate of which temperature temperatures cool aloft, and the faster they cool, the stronger the hail cores could be with these storms. So there's no surprise the Storm Prediction Center already a couple of days out here on their day 3 outlook has a hatched area for severe weather in that slight risk zone from central Iowa, southeastern Nebraska, northwestern Missouri, and down into central Kansas. This is where we could expect 2 inches or larger type of hailstones, which could be golf ball size or larger going into Wednesday evening. And this will be more of an overnight threat as well. And I'll explain here why in just a moment. So you see, as we go through early on Wednesday afternoon, there's not really much happening. We got some elevated rain showers up here into portions of Wisconsin, into the UP of Michigan. And the reason why we don't see much happening in the warm sector is because of a capping inversion. So it looks like as we go through the afternoon, the atmosphere is going to be capped off. It's a shallow warm layer aloft that prevents any showers or thunderstorms from developing and growing tall, because those air parcels cannot rise past that shallow warm layer. But as we start to erode that cap by the evening, especially late evening into the overnight hours up here near the triple point where that dry line and the warm front and low pressure system meet, that's where we're going to see thunderstorms and supercells erupt by late evening toward the midnight time frame. This is 10 o'clock, and you can already start to see them. This model is already hinting at some supercells into Kansas, southeastern Nebraska, and those will advect north and eastward into portions of Iowa there. So I would watch out if you live in Lincoln, Nebraska, up here toward Omaha, down here eventually maybe into the Wichita area here, just depending on how strong that capping inversion is as we go into 1 a.m. So these could be some big hailers after midnight. And then those will push farther north and eastbound into southern Minnesota and northern Iowa along that warm front, elevated thunderstorms there going in toward your Thursday morning commute. But as we go into Thursday, we got our own problems on Thursday. So that trough continues to deepen and strengthen as we go into Thursday afternoon. That mid-level jet, again, very strong out of the south and west here. And that warm front will be, again, up here across the Chicagoland area, getting into eastern Iowa, northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin. Definitely have to watch this. And then a surging cold front farther across the central and southern plains that'll be moving south and eastbound. And you see the temperatures Thursday afternoon into the 70s and 80s out here ahead of that cold front. Plenty of warm, moist air here. Dew points will be back into the 60s all the way up from the Davenport Quad Cities all the way southward to North Texas here and coastal Texas by Thursday afternoon. And a pretty shallow area of shear ahead of the front. But right along the front itself, there's some pretty nice shear values from the surface all the way up to 500 millibar layer in the mid-levels of the atmosphere, just a few thousand feet up, and that will be enough for severe weather. So day 4, already a few days out, the Storm Prediction Center does maintain a level 2 of 5, a slight risk of severe weather across southern Missouri through much of Arkansas, including the Jonesboro, Lincoln, Little Rock region, getting down here in towards southeastern Oklahoma, the Shreveport area into northwestern Louisiana, and then the Texarkana area, and then back into northeastern portions of Texas here toward the Dallas area there by Thursday afternoon and evening. And you can see the thunderstorms will already be ongoing by Thursday morning here from central Iowa down through the Kansas City region into southeastern portions of Kansas. These won't likely be too severe, but we still could be watching out for some hail and some gusty winds from these storms as we go into daytime heating there. Now, 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Thursday, these storms will form more of a broken line from southwest Wisconsin down the Mississippi River Valley here, posing the risk for damaging winds, large hail, and a couple isolated tornadoes. Those will grow more numerous as we get in toward the peak of daytime heating towards 7, 8 o'clock here across the Arklatex, getting into East Texas toward the Dallas-Fort Worth area, watching out for some big severe thunderstorms with damaging winds, large hail, and tornadoes. And then as we go into Friday, the day 5 risk for severe weather will be across Mississippi, northern Louisiana, East Texas, and southern Arkansas. So from the Jackson area back into Monroe, Shreveport, and maybe Tyler, Texas there on Friday. And that's with the ongoing thunderstorms. So Friday morning, we got ongoing thunderstorms down here across the lower Mississippi Valley with just general rain showers across the Ohio Valley. Not too concerned about a severe weather prospects for you guys, but down here to the south, we got plenty of instability. Those thunderstorms will be going here from the morning into the afternoon. Again, damaging winds, large hail, and a couple tornadoes will be possible. Definitely watch out for that. But looking here farther along through this upcoming weekend on Saturday, the 22nd, we're definitely expecting some heavy rain. So no matter if you get severe weather or not, many of us across the Mississippi Valley, all the way down to the Gulf Coast here, we'll be experiencing likely some heavy rainfall. Anywhere in these blue and purple shaded colors, you're at least guaranteed an inch, if not 2 inches, worth of rainfall through this upcoming weekend. And looking at the prospects for flash flooding, it looks like initially the flash flooding threat will be located up near and north of that warm front as it surges to the north on Wednesday into Thursday across Wisconsin, northern portions of Illinois, getting into Iowa there, southeastern Minnesota, and then back toward the Kansas City region. Much more of the Mississippi Valley will be in the threat for flash flooding on Thursday into Friday. And then as we go into Friday night into Saturday morning, that will be focused more along portions of the Mid-South and towards the lower Mississippi Valley there. So from portions of southern Illinois, southern Indiana, and all the way down towards the lower Mississippi Valley. Looking at the snowfall now. So we do have the snowfall on the far northern side of the system. It does look like it's mainly going to be a Canadian type of snow system up here later this week, up near the international border. The heaviest amounts will be into Ontario, according to the GEFS ensemble guidance, and actually largely the Canadian ensemble guidance does actually hint at that, but a little farther south with the track. So we could have a couple of inches of snow at least into the Dakotas here, especially North Dakota, northern Minnesota, and far northern portions of Wisconsin later on this week. But beyond the storm system, we got another punch of cold air that drops south. So winter does not want to give up, unfortunately, for many of us that want to see the warmer spring-like temperatures. We got the colder air coming back this upcoming weekend, and it has some staying power as well through the middle of next week, going all the way through Wednesday, April 26th here, likely below average temperatures. And speaking of staying power, this likely takes us to the end of April on Sunday, April 30th here, with below normal temperatures favored across 95% of the country. If you want any warm weather and a vacation spot, go down to southern Florida, where we have above normal temperatures favored near the Miami, Tampa, and Naples region as we go through later on this month. So taking a peek at the upcoming weekend here and what those temperatures could look like. Looks like we're going to be back into the 20s and 30s again for high temperatures across much of the northern United States. 20s more favored into southern Canada. And look at Saturday night, guys. Another hard freeze, another frost, likely, if not expected, here across much of the northern United States. Here are the same areas that are experiencing frost early on this week. And then again for Sunday, not warming up too much again, back into the 20s, 30s, and 40s up here across the north. And that cold front digs all the way south. So we're only getting into the mid 60s down here in Dallas, Fort Worth, middle 50s in Tulsa, Oklahoma City, and then low 50s up here in toward the Kansas City region on Sunday. Again, same thing. Sunday night, we got more frost and freeze conditions across the north. And then on Monday, we do it all over again. Copy and paste, more 30s and 40s again across the northern and northeastern United States. Looking here at the long-range weather pattern, going towards the first week in May, if you're wanting any warmer weather, well, it looks like a ridge is going to start to build across the western United States toward the end of this month and more so into the first week in May. This goes all the way through May 7th. And it looks like the lingering effects of our cool down will remain in place through the first week in May across the eastern 2/3 of the country. And it also looks drier with that as well. So even though we have cooler temperatures, if we find any silver lining with this, is that it's likely not going to be moving in with snowfall. So we're just going to be colder temperatures with snow here and there, but no big snowstorms expected toward the first week in May. It looks like the wetter conditions will be favored across the Intermountain West and parts of the central and southern plains during that time frame. Well, if you want to follow me on Twitter for additional weather forecast updates, make sure you hit the description down below and follow me on Twitter at hweather420. Again, I post on there very periodically, so definitely go on there and you find additional weather forecast updates. Like this video if you liked it, definitely appreciate it. Give it a thumbs up, and also subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't subscribed yet. Definitely a great place to be if you like detailed weather forecast breakdowns. Each and every morning at 9 a.m. on this channel, I cover southern Canada, the United States, and the tropics during tropical weather season. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great Monday, a great week ahead, and I'll see you all in the next video.